This is Clutch, an upcoming open-world racing game from ex-Forza developers with a heavy narrative focus. And I got the chance to play it early and tell you all about my time with the game. The footage you're about to watch is about an hour into the game and still fairly early. The game is still round about a whole year away from launch, so expect some issues and rough edges here and there, some of which the developers are already aware of and working on. I'll mostly let the gameplay do the talking so that you can get a better feel for how the game feels and sounds. Occasionally though, I will comment on various aspects to give you some insight, or even pause the video to highlight things that you might miss otherwise. And without further ado, here's part 1 of my gameplay footage, the story mission Acceleration.
Goodness me, Theo. Do I look like I have $1 million to drop on a car?
I mean, kind of.
I am a professional racing driver.
Then you know that anyone who can afford to drop that much money on a car can afford to lose it. And we're almost there now anyway.
You may have already spotted pedestrians on the sidewalk. They can be found anywhere where you'd expect people to be and go about their day. This, coupled with a surprisingly high traffic density, makes the map feel alive.
And set lap records.
All right, so you done your Wikipedia. What's your point?
My point is...
Clutch takes place in Monaco, and you may be wondering how closely the map resembles real life. According to the developers, this iteration of Monaco is an expansion of its real-world counterpart, with a total count of 790 roads at this stage in development. As such, you can trace back some roads in this game to real streets found in Monaco, but there are some fictional ones sprinkled throughout to fill the space. In fact, let me know in the comments if this road right here feels familiar to you. You may have noticed this car passing by before, but in case you haven't, yes, that is indeed a Renault Twingo right there. And I reached out to ask one very important question. Arguably the most important piece of information of them all when it comes to Clutch. And it's one that I am happy to share is exclusive information that you will hear from me first. Yes, the Twingo will also be drivable. Cars in Clutch handle very differently based on drivetrain type, weight and model year. This old BMW, for example, is noticeably less grippy in corners than the modern GT4 Porsche we will be driving later. Spoilers, I know. I'll share more specifics about the handling near the end of the video.
That car is somewhere inside. Find it for me.
Alright, let's get this over with. Hey, what am I looking for again?
A brand new Aston Martin? Surely you know what they look like. Well, this isn't good.
What?
Security incoming. You'll want to hide. One of the spaces.
Alright.
Story missions in this game are unique, objective-driven events that aim to keep things fresh between the races. This one is a stealth mission where we'll need to keep a low profile while looking for the car Emery wants us to find.
Private security. Vicious little buggers. Pay far too much. Best avoided.
Or what?
Doesn't matter. Keep going. He's gone.
That's the last car. That has to be it. But that's definitely not it. She said it would be here. Where else am I supposed to...
Theo, are you there? Where are you?
Emery! I couldn't see the car, so I'm going up in the lift.
Good. That shows real initiative. That'll probably take you up to Antonella's apartment.
Anyone home? All right, Emery, I'm in.
While a cutscene played showing Theo leaving the parking garage, you can actually exit the car yourself in certain spots on the map. Theo and Cass's house is one example, where you can park anywhere on the property, get out of the car, walk around the house, and later enter the car again to drive off. It's all completely seamless.
Hey, there's helicopters circling the place.
Don't worry, they haven't clocked you.
Hey, that's it. I can see the car, Emery.
Good. Now there should be a way to it through Antonilla's study.
Ah. A flat. God, Emery, what the hell is this? Some sort of torture room. Emery?
Not to rush you, but looks like security are on their way up.
Security? It's locked down. There's no way out.
Get that car. It's the only way.
A little bit of help, Emery.
That car has a harpoon, remember? Use it, and then jump.
Jump! Are you insane?
It's the only way. Now, Theo.
I ain't jumping, Emery. You better find another way.
There isn't one. He'll be here any second. There's a road on the hill across the valley. With enough speed, you'll make it. The Mafia don't mess around. You are going off that roof, one way or another, Theo.
So, what did you think? There's still a lot more to share and talk about, and in a moment we will get into some more gameplay as well, but I wanted to take this moment in time to just kind of chat what we've just seen. As you can see, Clutch is a story-driven open-world racing game taking place in prestigious Monaco. You get put in the shoes of racing driver siblings Theo and Cass Marshall, who were adopted at an early age and drilled to become prominent figures in the R1K racing series. Though things wouldn't be as peaceful as they initially seemed, as both eventually get dragged into the underground street racing scene through the Midnight Collective. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Theo eventually meets Emery, who has leverage over Theo and is using it to have him do her bidding in the form of high-stakes heists. Through the heists, you will also be introduced to ClutchTech, which are gadgets you may use in the open world and designated events to gain an advantage or get out of tricky situations. Aside from participating in races and missions, you have the entirety of Monaco to explore, as well as cars to purchase and customize to your liking, down to the very interior and wear and tear of the car. And before I tell you my opinion on all these things, let's take another look at one of the sanctioned races you'll also be doing in Clutch. During my time with the closed circuit races in the game, I was surprised just how competitive the AI opponents could be. They're surprisingly quick, but don't just blindly follow the racing line and make believable mistakes to capitalize on. As you might be able to tell via the minimap, racetracks are an integrated part of the map and not delegated to different locations. You may be wondering if there is some kind of penalty system for cutting corners. And yes, there is one, as I had to learn the hard way. Racetracks in this game don't only consist of circuits, however. There also exist sprint races that take you from A to B. You may also have noticed that all drivers participating in the races belong to teams, including the protagonists. Driver names and teams will reappear throughout the game, and you'll even get to learn more about them. The R1K itself also has its own origins, brought up by two brothers who would compete in a 1,000 mile long race to see who's the fastest. So now you've seen two gameplay clips, but to cap things off, I have a few more things to share. What you are about to watch are a small handful of gameplay clips showing off the various gameplay elements and activities you can do in Clutch. Let's start by taking a look at these street races, which work quite a bit differently than you might expect. Street races in Clutch are basically being live streamed in the game. And in order to win, you actually need to generate the most amount of hype amongst the audience. There's a chat to the side of the screen, and points are being earned depending on how well you're doing. While coming in first and being ahead is still important as it generates the most amount of points, things like drifting, near misses, and drafting behind opponents also increases your score. There are also special requests coming in throughout the race, where you can perform special feats for more points. It's all pretty reminiscent of Blur's fan system, and also affects how much money you earn from these races. Now earlier I mentioned that sanctioned races can also take place on sprint tracks. Let's take a look at one of these, featuring some more old school race cars. In case you missed it, this was actually Kaz driving instead of Theo, who we've been following thus far. Clutch is a dual protagonist game, and you can play as either of them at any time. Sometimes they each have unique missions, or might participate in the same mission but with different objectives. So it's worth replaying the game at least once if you want to get all the perspectives. In the mission we watched earlier, you saw a brief use of the harpoon. These gadgets aren't only confined to missions, however, and instead can be used in free roam at any time. Here's one example of how to use the harpoon to help you traverse Monaco. As you can see, you can use the harpoon to quickly get around tight hairpin turns. If there's a tall object, like a tree or a lamppost to attach it to, it will drag the car through the turn at high speed. The cool thing is that this is all physics-based, and actually requires some skill and practice to pull off smoothly. The timing of when to shoot and release the harpoon plays a major role in how successful this maneuver is. If you're not vibing with ClutchTech so far, rest assured that using it is mostly only required in story missions. It's disabled in most races I've seen so far and entirely optional in free roam. So far you've mostly seen pretty clean driving, but I'm sure some of you would like to know what drifting feels like as well. Check out this clip where we take an M3 and drift it around the famous Fairmont hairpin. Hopefully this defeats any and all fears that Clutch will have a brake-to-drift handling model. Drifting in this game is actually surprisingly challenging and requires a certain level of finesse. You need to be mindful of when to reapply the throttle and countersteer appropriately. If I had to describe the handling, I would say it is somewhere in the Simcade territory. Grip levels, turning radius and brake strength are a little exaggerated to make traversing the map a tad easier. But once physics come into play and you actually get into a slide, it requires more skill from the player. This makes for a pretty exhilarating driving experience, as you can push these cars pretty hard, but once you overdo it, you actually need to lock in order to keep the car under control. Now to cap things off, let's take a brief look at the pursuits. I know this one was pretty short, but it should give you one important piece of information that I'm sure Need for Speed fans are quite happy about. You do not have a health bar in Clutch. Cops need to bring you to a complete stop in order to bust you, more akin to how the older NFS games worked. In this particular instance, there was a mission objective to deliver wine to the destination while keeping it in one piece. While this could count as a health bar, it's really just a one-off mission objective. Most times you're engaging with the cops, you can ram them as much as you'd like. And that about covers my gameplay coverage of Clutch. If you couldn't tell already, this is a game I am genuinely looking forward to. It blends together so many racing games I've been a fan of over the years, but still very much does its own thing. The map reminds me of the beautiful vistas of Southern Europe from Forza Horizon 2, but with so much more density, verticality and liveliness. The handling feels reminiscent of the grid games, with generous tire grip and strong brakes, but requiring more finesse and skill when losing control, more akin to a Forza Motorsport or Gran Turismo. The story and missions remind me of a Need for Speed or Fast and Furious, but with a lot more fresh gameplay ideas thrown in. But between all these comparisons I could draw, there's really only one game that comes to mind that I would compare Clutch to the most. And it's one that I have the utmost respect for, even 15 years after it launched. 2011 saw the release of Driver San Francisco, a cinematic open-world racing game with a strong focus on its narrative, coupled with a new and interesting gameplay gimmick we haven't really seen before. Sound familiar? While Driver San Francisco and Clutch don't seem to have all that many similarities on paper, I believe both of them share the same overall philosophy or approach. Despite both being grounded in realism, they boast a more cinematic or film-like look. They both feature a serious and mature storyline with tension and stakes that drives the entire game forwards. Driving missions are the primary way to progress in both games, with regular racing, open-world exploration and purchasing vehicles being just some of the activities to do outside the story. And most notably, both feature a unique gameplay mechanic that completely changes the way you interact with the game. Driver with its shifting mechanic, and Clutch with its ClutchTech gadgets. If you know me, you know that I hold Driver San Francisco in very high regard as one of my favorite games of all time. In my opinion, it just highlights everything a racing game should strive to be. It's not just another open world racing game with decent handling, but a creative piece that really pushed what else a racing game can be. And from my time with Clutch, that's exactly the same way I felt about that game. They're not trying to play it safe. They're not simply mimicking whatever else is popular in the genre these days. Instead, they looked at what makes other games in other genres fun and exciting, and translated these aspects into a racing game format. Something which I think more racing games should have the courage to do. Now keep in mind, my time with Clutch was still relatively short. I only saw small glimpses of the game and it was also still far from finished. So in no way do I want to claim that this is going to break all records and redefine racing games. Nor is it, or is trying to be, a replacement for the Forza Horizons or Need for Speeds. But it does something very important in that it's trying to be different and more than just another racing game that'll easily be replaced the moment the next one rolls around. It's not afraid to just be a fun and memorable video game that you'll have a good time with, instead of being the next live service that's nearly identical to the ones we can already play today. I mean, what other game lets you launch a Twingo around corners and through the air with a harpoon? And if that's not absolute cinema, then I don't know what is. And so I'm genuinely excited to see more of Clutch. And when that time comes, I'll definitely be covering it right here. But let me know what you think of the game so far. What's something that got you particularly interested? Tell me all about it in the comments below. And with that, I'll leave you for today. Feel free to check out some of the other YouTubers who made their own videos on the game. I'll leave them in the description below. Until next time, take care everyone.